Monte Cahn, Joe Styler, and Drew Rosener join me today to discuss the upcoming live domain name auction, which will be held in Austin, Texas at the NamesCon conference on Thursday, January 30th. We discuss what's the same and what's new now that GoDaddy is the backend provider for the first time for this auction. We also discuss, and primarily, the domains themselves. Monte says this is the largest list that he's worked with. Monte very carefully monitors industry trends. So even if you don't plan on bidding on this auction, hearing about the industry trends themselves has its own value. Listen as we pull out different categories and highlight the names that jump out to us. Enjoy the show. Happy bidding. First, serious about online trading? Secure your funds, keep your merchandise safe, and use a company that keeps the buyer and seller protected the whole way through. That's escrow.com. Payments you can trust.
FD was built by domain investors to increase your inquiries, sales, and profit. Forget spreadsheets and archived emails. Manage your entire investment portfolio in one place using a secure and completely confidential platform. Learn more at FT.com. That's EFTY, FT.com.
Hey, Sherpa Network. Thanks for joining us today. We have a great show about the upcoming NamesCon auction. This is usually one of our very most popular Sherpa shows so that everyone can prep for the auction, whether they're there live in Austin, Texas, or online, or sometimes both. Joining us today, per usual, Monte Cahn of Right of the Dot, the master behind all the auctioning. Hello, Monte. How you doing?
Hello from South Florida. Glad to be here again.
Nice to see you. Can't wait to hear about what's new in this auction. And for the first time ever, we're joined by Joe Styler. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to come and talk about the auction.
That's cool. So I gave you a hard time about your turtleneck, and you said you just read what book?
I just read the Steve Jobs biography by Walter Isaacson. It was really great. It's a long read, but I think it was really worth it.
That's cool. Did it come with the turtleneck?
Yes, actually, you open it up and it pops out. I was surprised it's my size.
Amazing. Apple's so smart like that. And Drew Rosener, how you doing? Top auction bidder usually. What's happening? Are you ready to spend some money?
I am. There's some great names in the auction, and preparing our ammunition.
Watch out. All right. So this is something new. GoDaddy is the provider on the back end. What do we need to know? Let's start out with the basics of anyone new to these auctions, and then a little bit of what's different with GoDaddy being the back-end provider. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Monte, for bidders, first and foremost, where do we go to look at what's on the auction block?
Well, the auction this year is going to be on GoDaddy auctions this year. So there's a special event that's set up. It's best to go to auctions.godaddy.com, and then there's a banner at the top to click, and then you can get right to the pre-bidding page. And remember, right now it's just names in pre-bidding, and we're doing testing on traffic and click-throughs and bid interest and everything, and before we select what's going to be in the live and the extended auction list. So nothing on the pre-bidding list means it's in the live auction or extended auction yet, but this is where we're going to get an indication of interest, and then we use that information along with some other information I'm gathering and data to determine what's going to be in the live list. The good news is that 47 names have already hit reserve out of the list. A lot of low price names, a lot of no reserve names, which is good, and a couple decent price names, and then we expect some larger names to be hitting reserve in the near future. So pretty excited about that. And the new partner, which is GoDaddy, is of course known for being the largest industry domain provider in the universe. So we feel that we're going to get a lot more breadth and a lot more marketing and strength from that, and a lot more users and a lot more interest. So excited to work with Joe and his team and the GoDaddy team for that for the first time.
Super fabulous. And I'm glad you mentioned that because Joe, I was so busy talking about Steve Jobs, I should mention for anyone who doesn't know you, you're the aftermarket product manager at GoDaddy. So thanks for joining us. You do more than just read biographies.
That's true.
Really?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
47 names have already hit reserve. I cannot wait to dig into the list. Before we do, first of all, we're filming. Today is January 8th. We're going to go live with this on next week. And then the live auction itself is on January 30th. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
January 30th at 4:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. We're actually going to go live at 4 o'clock. There's going to be some awards going on before that. And we're actually going to auction a couple of charity name things for ICA and some other things to help build awareness and stuff for the ICA in the industry before that.
That's fabulous. And so the Internet Commerce Association, I saw you made a generous donation there, Monte, with this project, as the commissions go, some of them go into the Internet Commerce Association. That's fabulous.
Yes.
4 o'clock, what time zone? Mountain time?
Central time. Since the auction is taking place in Austin, Texas, which we're pretty excited about, a new venue, we're going to be starting at 4:30 Central time until 7:30 Central time.
Okay, very cool. So what is different with GoDaddy on the back end?
There's a couple things that are a little bit different. The one thing I think that's really important to point out is we're not sure, as Monte mentioned, it's in pre-bidding still, so we're not sure which names are going to be selected for the live auction until it gets sooner. So if your name that you're interested in bidding on is going to go to the live auction, it's really important that you either put a watch on it, which nobody else will see. You can just watch it on your list, or you place a bid on it, because we're going to pull the people that are watching and bidding on names when they get sent to the live auction, and send an email and let them know, hey, these names have been selected, so if you want to continue to bid on them, you need to go and bid on the live auction, which you can do. We'll send you the link that you could do it online if you're not going to be at the event, or you could do it at the event.
That's fabulous. Okay. And are domains still being submitted as well? So new domains are still being added, correct?
Yes, I'm winding down that process because we're now starting, not starting, but we've started targeting all of our time and energy to marketing the names that are in the auction or in the pre-bidding stage for sure. So, but names are trickling in still, and I'm trying to pick out some of the cream of the crop from those lists. To date, there's been over 38,000 names submitted. That's on track. By the time the auction hits, it'll be more like between 50 and 60,000 names submitted. And of course, I got to eyeball them all and do our evaluation process and find out what names might be of the best interest to the global audience. So obviously, there's a lot of work still involved with that, along with marketing and doing outreach and doing all the outbound for all the names that what I feel are going to be candidates for the live auction and the extended auction.
Makes sense. Okay. So let's, so I went to auctions.godaddy.com. I click this blue banner up top that says, NamesCon right off the dot domain auction. And I see the names here. And then just like any other GoDaddy auction, I can sort by alphabetical order, by numbers of bids or offers, by the price, and that would be the current bid price,
right?
Or by the time left, but that doesn't really count. So then let's just take a laptop.com. I can click the plus button next to it and see what under price, this one says right now, $44,944, and it has an asterisk next to it. What does that mean? Does that mean the reserve is not met, or that it has a reserve?
That means the reserve is not met.
Okay. And then where do I click to get a little more info to know the reserve range?
There's a details link right below that. And if you click that, it'll expand and show you the notes on the domain itself.
Okay. So there's
show you the reserve range.
On the plus sign, if you click the plus sign.
Right.
Okay. So you can also click, there's another button for description. So we have a couple different ways to do it. That's really, really convenient. And then it says, reserve range 500K plus. So, and obviously a name like laptop, that makes sense. Can I search this list by what reserves have been met? Which domains have reserves that are met, or no?
No, you can't. So we this is the first time in GoDaddy's history that we've published reserve ranges on the auction. So we wanted to make it, it was a couple customers came to us, I think Shane was one of them, and said, hey, we'd like to see the reserve ranges. So we put them in, but if we do this again with reserve ranges, we'll make it a little bit easier for people to find. And as we discussed a little earlier before we started the show, I'll make a list available to you that you can publish on your website that will have the names and the reserve ranges next to them, so that people can just copy the sheet down themselves and sort through it.
That sounds super easy. Thanks, Joe. That's great. Looking at some other names here, like electionfraud.com, you can see the reserve range 5 to 10K. So that's a lot more specific. Obviously the premium domains 500K plus is different, but the names that most folks will be bidding on are a lot, closer range. So right. That's really, really helpful. Do you have any that are no reserve?
Yeah, there's a lot that are no reserve, and it'll tell you that. Those are easier to spot. There's no asterisk. All bidding starts, the pre-bidding all starts at $300. So if there's no reserve, that would be the minimum bid, and then it would show you as winning. So you'd know right away. Super
cool.
And
all right.
Monty's done an excellent job, which I'm sure we're going to get into, of picking just a wide variety of really great names. So there's names at every price range, and there's also names for different types of people. So there's names for end users. There's names that I think are a huge bargain for investors. You really have a great opportunity. As I'm loading these names up on sometimes daily basis, I see these just gems that are really reasonably priced.
Well, that's cool. That's what we like to highlight in the show today. So I got one more question, and then we're ready to get into exactly that. Just by different category, what are the gems that each of you have noticed? So last question, what's GoDaddy been doing in terms of outreach for the auction? Anything you want to feature about your participation on the sales end? This is really something new. Of course, we were all together in Portugal this summer when news broke of GoDaddy's voice.com, can I say brokerage? So what's GoDaddy doing to bring in end users to this auction?
Oh, we're doing a few different things. So we also help to bring in names by talking to AfterNet customers that we know that have good portfolios, and some of the Premier Services customers that have good portfolios, and we knew would sell at reasonable prices for people. And it made sense, to contact them and see if they want to get their inventory here. So we reached out first to let people know about inventory, and we also had a lot of conversations with those same customers, and also people that we know that buy in certain verticals, that these names are available for you for sale. So we have several different teams at GoDaddy, and one of them is a broker team that does purchases for people, and we do a lot of repeat purchases for different companies and VC firms and places like that. So we were able to contact them as well and say, hey, these might be some great opportunities for you. And we also looked at anyone who's had interest in names like this before. Since we have a broker service, we can look back and say, okay, well, this, somebody's wanted to buy this name before. Let's let them know now it's at auction. So we've had conversations with people like that. And we've also done the front of site. If you go look for one of these names on the main GoDaddy web search, it'll show that the name's available and guide you to the auction. So we have a lot of end users that come and look for names that way, that might not even be familiar with the fact that there are auctions at all for domains, and we can reach them by having them know the names they're looking for, actually they can get.
Oh, that's really cool. So I just went to GoDaddy.com. I typed in add.com, ADD.com, and it says current bid, $136,000, why it's great, and place bid. That is really smart. Very cool. That's exciting.
Yep. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to team up with GoDaddy, because of some of that technology and their breadth of touching customers. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a lot more activity, and then we'll have a lot more names to select from for the live auction.
Nice. I think it's totally appropriate. You're wearing your Nike shirt because you are, I think they're giving you a run for your money. You got to.
I'm advertising my Wildcats as usual.
I should have known.
Wildcat fan, as everybody knows.
All I could see was the swoosh before.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely getting a workout from GoDaddy on this auction, so that's cool. All right, let's do this. What are you most excited about? Normally we go, I want to go through some categories. Like you said, Joe, end users, bargain for investors. We want to look at no reserve, premiums. But first, what are all three of you most excited about? What have you noticed on this list that you're like, wow, I want this, or I can't wait to see how this auction goes?
I like tie.com, TIE. I think that's a really cool name. It's a really great brand. It's got, I think, a reasonable reserve, and that's going to be exciting. I really like that, and I like, kind of on the no reserve area, icebergs.com. I mean, that I think was around $500 last I checked. $500 for icebergs.com, that's a steal, right? So
and it's already met reserve, by the way.
Right. I mean, there's great names that I want to see where they go. And personally, like, if anyone knows me and follows me mostly on Facebook, sometimes on Twitter, they know that I like to cook. Cookingschools.com is in there, and I thought, man, what a great name that would be for a cooking school. So
that's really cool. And actually, Joe, just for transparency, I love the transparent growth in this industry. The conversation is always there, and I think GoDaddy is a great participant in that. So we were talking before the show about a little bit different, because sometimes GoDaddy folks bid at the NamesCon auctions that in the past GoDaddy has not been the provider of. What's the story this time? Are you buying cooking schools?
Oh, I wish. I am not bidding on anything. Nobody at GoDaddy would be bidding on the auction since we're providing the backend service. In the past, since it was, everything was third party, we were able to bid. We had no, insight into anything that was going on. But this time, there's a lot of great names that I see come across the desk, and I think, man, these are going to be great for somebody.
Okay, cool. So get cookingschools.com now while Joe can't bid against you. And so that one has a reserve range, 25 to 50K. Cool. What do you see, Drew?
So, I mean, there's a lot of names in here, and I think I'll be able to make a little bit better decisions on what we want to buy once I've got a little bit more, high-level view of reserves. I think, if I step back for 1 second, I think the thing that I'm most excited about with this auction, not a name specifically, but a topic, is the fact that GoDaddy is now the backend provider. And I think that, this is like a really critical and important evolution for the domain aftermarket, because, ultimately, we're all just playing a little game of like musical chairs, unless we're growing the pie. And so I think that, I think two things, like giving the broader market, one, just the knowledge that there are these auctions happening, that, this is a thing, that this exists, that there's like all these great domains and they come up once in a while in auctions and you can go and buy them and bid on them. I think that just getting that concept to a broader audience is in and of itself very valuable to all of us. Second is the people that already know about GoDaddy auctions, which is unequivocally definitely not limited to domain investors. I mean, recently, all of the best names that were expired that I was on GoDaddy auctions bidding for went, well above my threshold that I was willing to pay. And while that's frustrating while I'm bidding on a particular auction, it's pretty exciting to me from an overall standpoint of the industry and of the portfolio we already own, because it tells me that there are end users participating in what used to be exclusively a wholesale or domain investor marketplace. And so, as I think I've said for 2 or 3 years, it's like, we've enjoyed, as domain investors and as brokers, we've enjoyed these massive margins between the wholesale market and the end user market. And I think that that's just going to continue to get compressed. And I think that this auction is going to do a lot to expedite that. So I'm pretty excited to see if that comes to fruition. I'm excited to see, like, if domain investors are getting outbid at their own game in a live auction for NamesCon. I think that that's cool. I think that's going to be really interesting to see. I'm very anxious to see how much end user participation we get. I'm a little less excited about bidding just because I think that there will be an element of that. So I think, you know, we're competing against deeper pockets with higher and better use cases. And then number two, I mean, it's just a sheer number of investors, period. And, you know, the names that I'm particularly interested in here do have reserves that are a bit outside of my, you know, comfort zone. But there are a lot of, like, you know, not, you know, let's say the 3 to 5 names that I'm like, I really love that name, but it's outside my bandwidth. But names like icebergs.com, I mean, icebergs.com, you know, 3, 4, 5, you know, even low 5 figures. It's like, that's a good brand. You know, I don't even know where to start, really. Hold on. I had one name that I thought, this is probably my favorite deal. I had it open before when you guys were talking, and now I lost it. Come back to me. I'll tell you what it was.
It'll come back. Yeah, I think we're going to cover quite a few here. All right, Monte, you have anything you're real excited about? Any name that you've, you know, hunted down over the years, or really it's a feather in your cap to have on this auction at long last?
Well, as everybody knows, I try to get the very best names that I can for these auction events, and every year I think that we outdo ourselves in terms of the quality of names that we have. And this year is no different. We have some, you know, awesome names and in a variety of price ranges. And as everybody also knows, I try to encourage no and low reserve pricing for great names so that everyone has a chance to compete, and that we have a true market value situation that happens in every auction. And I'll remind everybody that over 52% of our domain purchases are purchased by end users and corporates, and not just domain investors. So we have a pure mix of domain investors, newcomers onto the market, VCs, and private equity firms, along with end users buying names in these types of auctions. So when there's a lot of bidders and a lot of watchers, we're getting true values in terms of where the price can go. So if a name's priced at no reserve, it has great opportunity to rise way above expectations. And that's the point of doing this and choosing a wide variety of names that meets different criteria for different people. So having keywords, you know, that are priced at no reserve, that are 3-letter and 4-letter names in various extensions, and keyword, you know, terms like finance.cc. If anybody's seen .cc, names are starting to sell again for higher prices. So we have finance.cc, that it was no reserve, roadshows.com, which was no reserve, devildogs.com, which was no reserve. You know, keywords and niche that can become, you know, web 3.0 names for companies, stuff like that. A lot of 3-letter.net names like fnx.com and rix.net. I'm sorry, that was fnx.net. So a lot of .net names, a lot of .com names, a lot of 2-word names that are really valuable names. And then we have some really good 3-letter .com names like urn or earn.com, a slang word for earn, which I really like a lot. That's got a lot of bidders and watchers. Names like gadgets.com, which is a higher price name, but a very popular market segment. I have airdrop.com. Everybody uses airdrop on their iPhones, but think of it as the new service for drone delivery or drop shipments. That's on the auction as well.
Well, it's also the term for, like in cryptocurrency, if you own one particular cryptocurrency and there's a fork, you know, or some kind of change to that crypto blockchain, they do what's called an airdrop. So let's say, you know, when, you know, if we go back to like when there was only Bitcoin, right? When there became Bitcoin Cash, the chain split. And if you held Bitcoin, you got an airdrop of Bitcoin Cash. So if I had 100 Bitcoin, I got an airdrop of 100 Bitcoin Cash. And then when Bitcoin Cash split into freaking 20 other different things, you got an airdrop of each one of those stupid cryptocurrencies.
So a lot of names. Yeah, a lot of names that have multiple uses and meanings, like we've had in the past. But in this case, there's a wide variety of those. Even though that
it's high on my list.
Right. Even though Web.com is not the back-end provider this year, they've submitted a lot of really good names for this auction and are participating like they did last year. They have Kick.com, for example, which is a great name entered in. They have Private.net and Make.net, and they have Overdue.com and Patented.com entered into the auction, and they're doing well. Calories.com, of course, can be used for a number of different fitness and weight loss and those types of things. We have some single letter domain names, again, like W.de and X.de. A name that's getting a lot of popularity is Earthlings.com, believe it or not.
What? Really?
Yeah, we have Earthlings.com in the auction.
That's really cool. Kick.com, what's the reserve?
100 to 500.
What's that?
6 figs. 6 figs. 100 to 500.
Yeah,
okay.
6 figures, but it's priced to sell, in my opinion.
Yeah. Earthlings.com, what's the current bid?
Which name?
Earthlings.
Earthlings.com's current bid is $1,333.
Okay. Dancing.com really caught my eye. I was surprised at that. That's a good one for an ING.
Yeah, that's a great name. Dancing with
I didn't even see dancing.
Yep, dancing's on there. Rentalhomes.com is also on there. Fresh Food is on there. Presidents.com. We're coming up to an election year. We have presidents.com. Taxreturns.com. Another name that's really cool just because of the whole, Uber and Lyft and rideshare is mycar.com is on there. And we also have usedcar.com on there as well.
Interesting. And another big trend, freshfood.com. That should be interesting with a reserve at 10 to 25K. I think that's one to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of deals.
Yeah, a lot of deals. Things in the cannabis industry like hempgrowing.com and hempsales.com have some of that, and stuff in the web and internet space like webdesigns.com. A really cool name, which really hasn't picked up yet, but should, is burb.com, B-U-R-B. So a lot of cannabis companies are interested in that name, and also it's short for suburb, and could be a good real estate name as well. So there's a lot of short names to words that are cool and have like a new Urban Dictionary meaning and those types of things.
There's Connecticut.com. I mean, how often do you see a state name come up?
Yep, got Connecticut, and we have Illinois.com that's just got loaded, by the way, in the latest upload. So we have two big state names.
Wants that one.
Yeah, it's really rare, I think. I don't see those.
Sorry, which one?
At all.
We have Illinois.com. Illinois.com, it probably doesn't show up. Is it loaded yet, Joe?
No, we sent the latest list over to them, so it should be.
Okay. So it should be, by the time the show airs, there'll be several big names that are loaded for this week. Illinois.com is one of them. We have Connecticut.com as well. So we have a number of other city names that are in the auction. So we've got the geo segment really targeted and covered. We've got 2-letter, 3-letter, 1-letter names. We've got shorteners of words. We've got great 2-letter names with meaning. We've got finance names. We've got a variety of extensions from .de to .cc to .net, a lot of .orgs.
You have Texas.io and a couple other Texas names since we're in town, and Austin has a great startup community. That could be Texas.io. I think is thoughtful for the location. What else do you have that's anything specific?
TexasHotels.com is in there as well.
Okay, nice. Latinos.com, vehicle.com. You got some fabulous one words in here.
Yep.
other extensions that you're bringing up, I really like prince.co.uk and queen.co.uk. I mean, if you're talking about, great names for England, and there are no reserved names. I think one's at 300, one's at 500. It's ridiculously cheap.
Wow.
So
And you all make sure if, one of these extensions like .de or .uk is purchased, that it's a transferable extension and you help through the whole transfer process.
Right.
It's kind of like guaranteed that this isn't going to be a big deal. Like you're not going to find out it's some weird extension and you have to stand on your head and send a blood sample.
And not only that, but again, I'm not allowing any super premium renewal prices going in, so we don't have surprises at the end. So, any new TLDs are priced at the normal renewal prices that they are registered for. There's not going to be any tiered pricing surprises, anything like that. So if you see a new TLD that's in there that's popular, it'll be at a regular renewal fee.
Okay. Well, speaking of
That's good to know.
popular, what?
I said, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Speaking of popular here, with 47 bids, no reserve, med.org, like medical.org.
I had that highlighted on my list.
Who figured out? I mean,
Wait, what am I doing wrong? I'm not even seeing. I mean, that's an amazing name. I didn't even see that on my list.
Yeah, that is an amazing name. I don't know. I'm just going through. I just opened up a bunch of tabs.
We also have, speaking of a geo name, we have Asheville.org in there as well, and that's no reserve.
Saw that.
Asheville.com, no reserve.
No, .org.
.org. Okay.
But still, that's a great geo name with a .org, and we just had a domain conference in Asheville with Rick Schwartz, and it was a great city. It's a new up and coming city that was built after a little New York, and so it's a very popular name. I'm sure Michael Perkins might be all over that.
Yeah.
Finds out about it.
Speaking of, so are any GoDaddy owned domains in this auction?
Yeah, we submitted about 20. Laptop is one of ours.
Okay.
We wanted to help as much as we could get some good names in there to get things going off the bat. So we did put some NameFind names in. And we're excited to have those in.
So Laptop is one, Offices is another, .com, Lasers.com is another. So some really good NameFind names that are in there for sure.
Wow. And how were those selected? What's the process?
Those guys sent me, GoDaddy sent me a list, and I weeded through them, and we selected what we felt would be the best names chances to sell. But Joe can explain why they selected those names to provide to us on another side. But out of a global list, I selected, a handful of the super premium names to put in, and then a number of the second tier names, what I would call, to put in also. They were also the first names to get loaded, so it was part of the new testing of putting up this pre-bidding page for them for the first time. Smart. And so they've been on the page, on the site the longest, which gave them more visibility as well. So we did that as well to try to work the process to get all the weeds out, all the bugs out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So top domain today on bid for number of bids is shirts.com, which is really interesting. I think, Monte, what you do such a great job of is knowing what the trends are for end users, for startups. So shirts.com has 93 bids. 22,000 plus is the current bid. That's some nice activity there.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I sold T-shirts a while ago in an auction in New York under traffic years and years ago. So I had the T-shirts portfolio sale done, and the same provider has shirts left, and he gave it to me at the last minute. It came in like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so it's at a really good price. It's a huge industry, obviously.
Yeah, they paid a lot for that name. I remember when they bought shirts.com.
Yeah.
That was a Phil Gordon name that sold to Todd Royne. And then Todd sold it to those guys, the costume.
Yeah, they opened up an online T-shirt store, and that T-shirts division I helped sell, and that sold about a year and a half ago. And shirts.com was left, and so we're putting it in.
I mean, it's literally that's such a huge domain. It's crazy. I always thought, we took a stab at buying that years ago. And I actually always thought that the custom tailored shirts like men's button-down shirts, you know, Hong Kong tailors type of thing. That would be a great play if you could, you know, get like
Or the guys from Untucked, those guys
exactly.
start up and doing well online.
Yep. It's a huge space. It's a huge space. I mean, so many angles.
Yeah.
They've got like 3 or 4 startups that are all very well funded, that are doing like, you know, sort of brand merchandising, like basically like crowdfunding through selling t-shirts. So it's like you can launch a campaign for your startup and raise money just by like selling branded t-shirts. Teespring is one of them. Right. There's a few big ones. Yeah, there's just so many angles. I mean, shirts.com.
Another great name, which is probably the most popular Latin name in the entire world, which is Jose.com, is in the auction. So, I mean, when I go to Costa Rica, as everybody knows, I have a place in Costa Rica, everybody's either Jose or Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Jose is the #1 popular Latin name, Spanish name that there is in the world.
And everyone knows how to spell it. It's super easy.
Yeah.
You know, passes the radio test, no problem. It's a very, very nice name.
We have Jorge, the second most popular.
Jorge, probably.
I wanted to say back to shirts.com, Monte, you mentioned that you've sold a portfolio for that owner before. And I think that's so important to highlight why someone like you is coordinating these auctions, and the power, Joe, that you mentioned of GoDaddy bringing in those sellers as well. It's not easy to build trust, to sell a domain, and the relationships that you've built create these unique opportunities. And some folks who watch this show are not regulars in the domain industry, but these are opportunities that you're probably not going to get if you just, you know, look up the shirts.com owner and try to make an offer. But they trust this process, they trust GoDaddy as the provider, and trust that this auction is going to position these names well. So that's really cool.
You know, as everybody knows, I got into the industry in 1995. I kind of pioneered the online and live auction scenario for the industry, including brokerage and all that stuff. And so, you know, it's a perfect match because for years and years and years, you know, we've sold so many names, you know, before I started Moniker. And then of course, Moniker was the leader in auction and brokerage sales, and then teaming up with GoDaddy, which is the largest, you know, domain provider and domain services company in the world. Also, it makes a lot of sense from a trust standpoint, from a transaction standpoint, and so you know, it's a perfect match. And having a new venue this year for NamesCon and having the show getting bigger and bigger, it's you know, it seems like all the right pieces are in place to make it a very successful conference, event, auction, and set up the foundation and the platform for the future.
That's really cool. Yeah. Bash.com is one of the most popular ones here for the current bidding status. Tech term, any other applications for it? What's the deal with Bash? Who do you think is going to buy that?
I think it's a great brand. Like it's great if you're like a party company, party planner. Yep. It just got so many different uses, and it's short. Like you said, it's a radio test. It's a wonderful name. That could be used by so many different companies. It's you know, it's like I said, you know, Monty's done a great job of picking names that are appealing to a broad variety of people.
Yeah. Okay. So what are a couple of the brandable ones here that for anybody looking for a good brandable domain, particularly, you know, that might be good for end users? What do you see in here for them?
Well, that's one of them for sure. But you know, I think Bash is a good name for end users. You know, there's a lot of names that are names of other things that can be turned around and made use of for end user company, like pandas.com, for example, is in the auction.
Love that. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, yeah, and slept.com, which all the variations of sleeping have been sold for high dollar amounts. So we have slept.com in there as well. for a pharmaceutical company or sleep apnea company or something like that that's addressing those needs. Yonk, YONK.com, which is getting a lot of bids as well, can be turned into something big. Shop.com, which can be an online retail or wholesale store online as well. There's some
what I think? One of the, I don't want to say it's a sleeper because it's obviously a valuable domain, but I think it may be overlooked as its potential for being a really great brand is please.com. That name, I've looked at it 25 times just to be on this call, and it just keeps coming back to me. It's like, I love that name. You know, if there's anything the world needs today, it's like everybody be a little more polite. You know, starting with me.
Yeah, no kidding.
But please.com. I just think please.com is like, you know, it's like when the Honest Company came out and they were honest.com, it was like that was a what do you call that? A platonic shift in the market. It was like, this is where branding's going. This is where, you know, the market's going, society's going. It was like people want honest products. They don't want to be marketed bullshit anymore, right? And it was like, and I think please.com is in that vein. It's like, you know, you could put please.com on anything. I mean, it could be, you know, customer service business. It could be, you know, greeting cards. It could be, you know, honestly, I think one of the coolest things that it could be is like elderly care or just like home services, like a handyman thing for, particularly a handyman thing for like the elderly, you know, to be able to call on like service providers.
We aim to please.
Like, yeah, we aim to please. We're here to please. Like, I love it. I think please.com is an amazing, amazing brand.
Yep, and it's at a reasonable price too for a single word name that's used every day in everybody's vocabulary. You know,
or it's supposed to, at least should be.
Should be.
I think too, when you can get that excited and
That's right.
offer that many different ideas for a use case on a domain, that's a really good sign. I'm thinking about grocery delivery, all the other delivery services that you can do now. As a busy mom, I'm like, please, somebody deliver this.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of uses. That's nice.
Just problem solving, like whatever the problem is, just please, for the love of God, please. Yeah. You know, it's just, I love it. I think please.com is.
We've already written their commercial.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's a really good sign. That's a really good sign on a Brandable.
And ADD.com, which, you know, obviously is not only a three-letter to hit a three-letter category, it also stands for attention deficit disorder, but it also is short for addition, or it is a key, an additionary term for ad. Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So, I mean, that's a really good broad three-letter, repeater letter word with two Ds. You know, it's a great, it's a dictionary term.
Add value, add customers, add to your bank account.
Yep. Add together, and, you know, just all the variations of that for sure, you know. So that, you know, again, and there's a handful of more names by the time the show airs that are really kick-ass names that'll be on the auction and be selected as well.
Yeah.
So
how do you pick out of that many names which 2, 3, and 4 character domains? Let's look at a couple of them, see which ones stand out to you as having great reserves.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. I threw a lot of 3 and 4 character names up here in various extensions. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about .org and about .net and of course .com, and you know, even though they've technically, you know, traditionally been in a certain price range, they are becoming more important. They are, you know, they're a limited selection. You know, there's a limited selection of variations of those letters, and they can stand for a lot of different things. And we know that there's a you know, Chinese variation of how those letters are used. And so I put a lot of those names in various extensions as a litmus test to see what's going to float to the top this year, more so than I've ever put in. As a matter of fact, the pre-bidding list is larger than it's ever been this year.
How many names do we have in the pre-bidding?
There's going to be about 700 this year in pre-bidding.
Wow.
I'm going to eliminate a bunch of names out of there, so it's not going to be overwhelming come extended auction time. And again, from that list, from the 38,000 names so far, which will be about 58,000 or 55,000 by the time I'm done, to get to the top and have float to the top 120 names for live auction, and then 500 or so names for extended auction, or 600 names for extended auction probably this year. It's a lot of work, and you have to go back in history and look at a lot of the pre-sales and what they sold for, and some of the new things that are trending online and on the web and in the tech industry. So that's why some of these names are in here that may or may not make sense to generally to the global population, but for a handful of niche people who understand what some of the terms mean, they'll be all over it.
That makes a lot of sense. Like I see here, HRB.com, like a shortened version of herb.com. I think,
Quiet. I just bid on that name.
Oh, it has a reserve of 10 to 25K.
That's literally my number one pick in this auction. That's the name I want.
Hey, that's the risk you have. That's the risk you have by doing the show.
As if that wouldn't get a lot of attention. But then it's right the way I'm looking at it, it's right nearby PZU.com, which has a reserve much higher at 50 to 100K. And I mean, walking in here with no research at all, I would think it would be the opposite. So that's good to know, whether you happen to remember that name and have some insight.
Well, the point is just having 3-letter names to be able to sell an auction is really important, because again, it's a limited list of 3-letter names that people own, that people want to put up for sale. There's been a lot of trending downward on those 3-letter values, by the way, unless there's really keyword meaning. So, some are higher, some are lower, some have specific meanings, some stand for, if you do a lookup in Google what those letters mean, you'll see various things come up that, might meet the needs of some buyers and bidders. So a lot of these 3-letter and 4-letter names, especially the ones with repeating characters or with double characters within the string, mean a lot to people. So, that's just one of the things. Like there's KFFR.com, which is, it's already hit reserve. It's a low price name, but it has 2 Fs. And if you look up that name in Google, you'll see that it has some meaning. So that's a lot of how those things were selected.
Interesting. Okay. So let's talk about some real bargains. What are some of the bargains that are on your radar for anyone, all 3 of you, not anybody specific?
I like New York Investments. I don't even think that has a bid yet. No reserve. For no reserve, no bids, that's a bargain. New York Investments is a great name. Huge opportunity.
Ghost Stories, which has already hit reserve, but was at no reserve. I mean, that's a great name at no reserve. Beauty spa, timeshare sales. There's a hack in there, which is Singles, which is single.es.
Right.
SINGL.es for Singles. That's I think that's a cool name. There's a lot of good hacking sales now that's been going on.
That's kind of like my homes, my HOM.es that, I don't own that anymore. Never mind.
Xylophones.
Sorry.
Xylophones.com, which is a musical instrument. That's at no reserve and doing well in no reserve. I think
Me2.com.
Yep. Or tattoo.me, which makes linguistic sense. Right. Tattoo Me. That's a no reserve name. But
that's a typo. Unless it's a typo maybe in your system, but it's.
I know, but it's still spin. It's still spin on something that somebody can make something of.
Right.
Luxury pre-owned. That could stand for cars. I think Joe's mentioned prince.co.uk and his Queen. A lot of names like that on the, Devil Dogs is a great one.
Creditcardpoints.com. No reserve.
Right. Yep. That's a great one.
Huge domain. Huge.
I like
there are
no reserve.
Say
Which
it
one?
again, Joe.
Legalfees.com.
Yeah, legalfees.com.
No Reserve, great name. Overeater.com. I think that's a funny name. You know, for $300, that's a great name.
Overeater. Should be my email address.
I was thinking you could just put a website of me,
Yeah.
but I think it's a great name. There's some really good deals at the no reserve level. I think it's really there's opportunity for anyone.
Yeah, there really is. This is a great list, and I think this really helps someone who can listen to this really start getting into where some of the highlights are, where to look through. What do you have in any other verticals you want to highlight? Any interesting or popular verticals in here that you're touching on?
I mean, we're hitting a huge variety of verticals. Catering service, for example, is in this on the list and has I think a decent price for as big as that industry is. Golfvacation.com is another one. Autographed.com is another one for collectors.
Cool.
Mutter.com, milkchocolates.com, futons.
I think mutter is muta. I think I gotta check spelling, but I think that's the German word for mother.
Yes. I'd pronounce it wrong, but like Joe mentioned, cooking schools, things like quickrental.com, which is could be for cars or houses or whatever. Is on there. So, Illinois.com did make the list. Okay, I see it here.
Yeah, it's updated.
Did make the list.
Area has a bid. Bitcoin Vault is a great name, and that's got a really reasonable reserve so it's a great vertical.
Say it again, Joe.
Bitcoin Vault.
Bitcoin
Vault.
Vault. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable name.
Okay. How about this one? Fastmoves.com. 5 to 10K. Moving is a great keyword.
That's it.
Yeah. Or it may not even be related to the moving industry. It could be fast moves in business,
Sports.
in relationships, could be all. Could be the next Tinder.
And I think this is just like please.com. When you get a bunch of different ideas, that's a really good brandable. Snackboxes.com, 5 to 10K reserve. This is pretty cool. A whole bunch of election things with, and I think that's great. You got time to acquire it, plan something, and launch it before all the traffic hits. That's really,
I
really
like,
good
how
time.
can I help you? Sorry, I just totally interrupted you. I apologize. But how can I help you.com? I think it's also a good domain.
You can buy at auction.com. That's how you can help me.
Oh, is that the only reason it's even here? Just so you could make that joke.
We've got some great medical terms, or in that industry, like kneeproblems.com, backsurgery.com, childbirth, which which Andrew mentioned earlier, childbirth.com, pregnant.com. There's a cool spin of a health name, easyhealth.com. So got some good health-related, medical-related terms in the industry as well, which that's in the news every day about going online for healthcare and the Obamacare and making things better. So those are all in there as well.
Interesting. Now, knee problems, I imagine, has just enormous search volume. Do you know what names on the auction have either the highest search volume or the highest CPC?
I have that on another list, but I'd have to pull up that list. But yes, I have all that, a lot of that stat and data because that's how we do a lot of the valuations on how to select names for pre-bidding.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it doesn't always match up, what people see versus what happens on pre-bidding. But it's good, obviously, to put in names that have high CPC and have the most search volume on the key terms, because you would think that it gets the most popularity, but that's not necessarily the focus group of people that are bidding and buying on this list. But there is a correlation,
Sure. Okay. Very, very interesting. What do you any GTLDs on here that we haven't covered? What did we have? I'm trying to think of anything besides we talked about com, net, org, .me,
the country codes you put in, like you mentioned, Texas.io, since IO has been very popular, and we have like rides.co, which is a country code, OF or of.tv. We have sex.us in there. And then some of the new TLDs, let me look them up. There's still limited TLDs, but I.rent, which is, I think, is a great, linguistically flow name and short, one letter character in front of rent. I.rent is a great name, for sure.
Okay.
Let me see what else I've got in here.
There's beachfront property, which I think is a great one.
What is it?
Beachfront.property.
Cool. Yeah, that's
I think we talked about that on the show yesterday, maybe. Didn't we, Tess, on the review?
No.
Or no. So, tropical property or something, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I think NameJet has tropicalproperties.com for sale right now.
Okay. Got it.
There's some names with no bids that were just entered, like finance.loans.com. That's a new TLD that's in there.
Okay.
Porn.chat. That's a great name.
That's a good match.
I'd say the demand for bulletproofclothing.com is about to increase.
What?
There you go. Soybean.farm.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
handful of new TLDs that are in there, and a lot of country code extensions that are in there that were popular or have meaning. And of course, .com, .net, .org is fully covered for sure.
Okay, yeah, for sure. And two big one-word.coms that I think are great brandables that have not been mentioned, homecoming.com and Extreme, Xtream, extreme.com. Those I'd be really interested to see. And looks like they certainly have a lot of views, even if they don't have as many bids as some of the others. People are looking and thinking these things over, huh? Like over 800 views.
Yeah,
it's really cool to see how many people are coming to watch the auctions. And like I said, it's important if you're interested in these names to place a watch, log in, watch the name yourself on your watch list, so that we can email you and let you know if it's going to go to the live auction, because you don't want to miss out on these.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I bid? Where do I go? Monty, you sent me a link that I'm going to put in the DomainSherpa post. Is it the same as it used to be?
You express interest in the name by bidding or watching, at the GoDaddy's auction site that I sent you the link on, which is the event that we have this particular auction set up on. And then from that list, obviously, there'll be 120 or so names selected for live auction. And there's a link that I sent you, Tess, that you're going to post on this episode.
So this isn't the same as like, if I'm just bidding on a GoDaddy auction like every day of the week at auctions.godaddy.com, it's this process is different.
Yeah. Well, if you remember the process we did with NameJet last year, all pre-bidding was done at NameJet, and then when pre-bidding has been suspended and we're getting ready for the live auction, the 120 or so names will move into the live auction environment. And then there'll be a link on GoDaddy's site that will lead people there as well. And then at rotd.com, we'll send people there as well. And then you're going to post that particular link on your show, on your site as well, which is, it forwards to our live auction system. The catalog will be posted. Pre-bidding can continue on that site. And then when we go live, just like in years past, you'll be able to see the bidding live. You'll be able to participate in the bidding live. You have to sign up, of course, on the live bidding site. And then you're going to be able to see the bidding, participate in the bidding if you're not in the room, and that will be the live site. And in years past, we used a system called the Xera system, and this year we're using a system called ProxyBid.
Okay.
So that's our live auction system. Wayne Weed is going to be the auctioneer again this year, of course, and so in correlation with in-room bidding, there'll be online live internet bidding, And those bidders will be participating online and in the room, and then we'll determine whether the bidder or the winning bid comes from the online system or in the room while the auction's going on.
Super cool. So it really is like previous years, but two different providers.
Exactly.
But for people to be aware, just because so many folks are so familiar with just bidding on GoDaddy every day of the week, this is different because it's a live auction. So you go through the link that is accessible everywhere. It'll be on DomainSherpa. It'll be on rotd.com. And it'll be on GoDaddy. What were you going to say, Joe?
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just don't want to forget. I made a short link up because I knew that this might come up. And it's x.co/ROTD for rather the dot help. So x.co/ROTD help. And that will take you to a help article that explains the entire process in more detail. So if anyone has questions, they can reference that.
Brilliant idea. Don't get Drew started on x.co and how much we
hold on. While we're on that
shortener.
subject, for 1 second. So what? So I was one of the people who probably appreciated the x.co URL shortener more than anybody else. And I, to this day, have been using it on an almost daily basis. And suddenly you guys made it so I can't edit my links anymore.
I know, they stopped supporting it and they tried to get rid of it, and I fought hard to not get rid of it, and it's still around, but they're not making it easy for new links.
Thank you for keeping it around, Joe.
Can you guys just sell it to me or something?
I don't know.
You don't even make money on it.
Maybe we can talk about it.
Because I love the x.co service, and I literally use it on a daily basis. Like, in everything that I do, because I'm really bad at memorizing where things live, I just create short links and I link them to the various things. And like when we have domains in auction, I'll create short links that like just point to that specific landing page, or like I use these things constantly. And I have all these great links, and you guys don't let me edit them anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's been tough for me too because I use it a lot. And actually, when I use it, I think we're on the same page, Alex. I told you I was bidding against you on other auctions in Europe when I was allowed to bid. And I'll try and set up a short link on x.co, and it exists, and I'll go type it in, and it'll go to something of yours. I'm like, oh, it's him again. He's got he took my name. So, but I think it'll help people to be able to find out exactly what's different. Like Monty said, we'll update that article when we have the link that goes live, so that you can go from that article, have a link where you can go bid. I'm going to be on site when you're there in NamesCon to sign people up for paddles. So if you want to bid in the auction, you can bid live. We'll have people there. I should be at the table helping people get signed up and ready to bid. So we'll have a lot of opportunities for people, and anyone can reach out to me if they have questions. I'm happy to answer. We want people to get involved and to bid. So if you need to email me, it's jstyler@godaddy.com. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We want people to make this as easy as possible for people to come and bid.
Thank you, Joe. That's really fabulous. I'm excited. Anything else you guys think that we should cover about this auction? You think we hit it all?
I think we did. I think, again, because there's a little bit new of a process to make sure you get in early, get signed up for live bidding early through the links that will be posted both on the GoDaddy help page as well as on rotd.com help page. And make sure that everybody signed up and agree to the terms. And then we're really excited to be in the live environment and a new location in Austin, Texas, and with a great list of names, and look forward to a successful event.
Super cool. Yeah. Joe, you're such a big barbecue fan. I know it's not quite, Kansas but you already have places picked out?
I already scoped out one place that I really want to go to, which is Aaron Franklin's Barbecue, which is supposed to be the quintessential brisket in the country. So I am planning on
say the name?
Aaron Franklin. So it's Franklin's Barbecue. It's about 10 minutes from the hotel. He's only open for lunch, so I'm trying to find a time I can sneak away and get some brisket.
All right. So if you don't email Joe, stalk him at Aaron Franklin.
That's right.
Nice.
Eating brisket.
Good. Monty, you won't have time to eat. You'll be too busy running this show.
I'll be drinking during my auction, like I always do. Drinking my bourbon.
And speaking of which, cocktails.com is for sale.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's excellent.
That's right.
Nice.
Really? Is that in here? I didn't see cocktails, and I went through literally every name. I just finished.
Cocktails.com is in there.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yep.
Cocktails.com.
Yeah, there are a
All right.
lot of good names, and that's what happens when you have such a big list. I think that's why folks listen to this show. So, like, these shows have like triple the viewership of our regular weekly shows because we do all the hard work for them, telling them all the good names, or getting it started and getting up that.
There's a lot more. There's a lot of great names other than what we talked about. It's just there's a lot. There's more names, more good names on this list than I've ever had. That's why it's been hard to shorten down the list. But you know, I'll make a point of getting the list a little bit smaller before we go into the extended auction for sure. But unlike previous years, I think there's going to be a lot of action in the extended auction because there's such a wide selection of good names on this list that they're not all going to make the live auction. We only have 3 hours for the live auction, and so you just can't sell more than 125 names in the live auction because of that. So and also you start losing people at the end. So we want to make sure that we have the right targeted list during the live auction, and then the extended auction is really going to kick ass this year. I have a good feeling about it.
All right. So first of all, you can watch now, and that will affect watch or bid now, and that will affect what may go into the live auction. You can sign up now for the pre-bidding at the link that all three of us will have on our websites. You can check out the help article that Joe put up at x.co/rotdhelp.com.
Yep.
And most importantly, 4 p.m. on Thursday, January 30th, 4 p.m. Central Time, which is what time Eastern?
That would be 5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, January 30th. Let the games begin.
And it would be 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay. Very, very exciting. I look forward to seeing each of you there. It's always a good time. It was wonderful to have you on.
Great to be here as always, and we look forward to a successful auction and watching Andrew raise his paddle on every name.
Yeehaw! At our Texas, now we got to take on the Austin, own it.
Right.
All right. We'll see
I
you
don't
guys
know.
soon.
That's right.
Yeah,
What are you
never
gonna say,
mind.
Drew?
I'm gonna nothing. I'm gonna keep it clean
All right.
for the benefit of please.com.
Please.com.
All right, good show, Tess.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
y'all next time.